let's start to talk about iRex, because we are finding out every day that the cost of cancelling those ferries is becoming more and more eye-watering. TVNZ ran a story last night, I'll just show you the headline, shall I, that says it's towards $500 million. $500 million to cancel them. And there are many saying this is not the end of the bill for cancelling them. And remember, this is what it's costing the country to not have any ferries and not have any work done on terminals. So we now have to add on top of that what is going to be the cost of the secondhand corollas. And remember, we said this very clearly a couple of weeks ago. What we will end up getting is a massively inferior product for the same money they would have spent on the iRex. Or maybe paying some more. Once you add in the $500 million that they've wasted, and whatever more comes in over the next wee while, and then the cost of the new ferries, remembering that the advice to the government is there are no second-hand ferries out there at the moment, and inevitably probably still some changes to the wharfs because they're not going to be exactly the same ferries, it will probably be in excess of that $3 billion that they refuse to pay when you add all those things together. So, you want to jump in with anything, Chewie, before we see what they're actually talking about?
Remember, one of the numbers that I heard bandied around very early on was $800 million.
Yeah.
So
just for cancelling.
I'm interested to see whether that is accurate once all the dust settles and everything comes out. I would imagine that National will fight tooth and nail to conceal that number for as long as possible. They have fucked up, and we should never, ever forget that this was just for election points.
On the new ferries when they come, not fit for purpose, not to the same level of the ones that were. Every person that throws up on those new ferries because they're smaller and they're tossed around more by the wind should send 10 to 15% of that vomit straight to one of these politicians to say, thanks for this, we're great. Because this is another thing we need to think about as well. I'm looking at getting my driveway sorted out. And what I'm looking for is best bang for the buck. So maybe I'll get it, because it's currently not sealed, but maybe I'll get it re-unsealed, so just chip laid down. Maybe it'll be concreted. Maybe it'll be somewhere in between. So I'm all about, if something costs a third more, but it's 10 times better, obviously that's worth paying a third more for. The other thing that these guys will try and do, come hell or high water, they'll try and spend like $2 billion or under in total, but we might have a product that's 1/10 as good. You know what I'm saying? So just because they're going to hit maybe a target or a dollar that's less than the $3 billion, if it is half of what we would have had, half the quality, half the capacity, half the lifespan, whatever it is, then it would have been better to spend an extra third to get to 3 million and have the fucking Ferrari. I mean, if you can buy a Corolla for 20 grand or a brand new Ferrari for 30 grand, you should fucking stretch yourself to the 30 grand. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get into it now. Do we still need this? I think we've just finished this story, have we? We'll just go on to the next one. Now, here we go. Golden Fox.
As the government urgently looks for a plan B for the Cook Strait ferries, One News can reveal the eye-watering amount already spent on the axed project. iRex would have delivered 2 mega ferries, but the budget blew out to $3 billion, seeing it scrapped in December. At the time, Kiwi Rail said about $400 million had already been spent, largely on preparing the ports. But in the 6 months since the plan was scratched, that's kept growing to now nearly $500 million. And that doesn't include the cost of breaking the contract with the South Korean shipyard or what still needs to be spent on new ferries.
Breaking the contract. And look, also remember, this government's name is now mud with any ferry agency. Because you know what will happen if Labor gets in next time? Maybe they'll go, guys, we really have to decide, do we want to go through with these piece of crap ferries that these guys have ordered, or do we need to take a financial hit? Thanks, National, and get something better, and could cancel another contract. So who's going to want to deal with these people? Who's going to want to deal with this government that just pulled the wool out from underneath a company already? You know, it's just, our name is mud as well. There's a cost, the name of the country and the trustworthiness of its government.
Jessica Roden has the exclusive details.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bigger and better, these are the mega ferries KiwiRail wanted. And while they didn't make it off the drawing board, they've still made a hefty dent in the taxpayer wallet.
I think it's a disgrace. It's, I mean, the government can pull whatever spin they want on it, you know, when they come out and talk about it. But the facts are, you know, that's a lot of taxpayers' money going down the gurgler there.
Yeah.
iRex was scrapped after KiwiRail asked for extra cash and the government refused.
A resilient ferry service should not mean an open chequebook paid for by the taxpayer.
Despite being axed, the cost...
Hands up, people who think those words might come back to bite her really badly in the political arse. My hands up. Both my hands are up. All the way up.
Yeah,
Yikes.
absolutely.
Yikes.
It's of the project.
Chewy.
I'm always stunned about what a shitty decision this is.
Yeah.
It's knee jerk.
Yep, 100%. It's basically Labor bad. Get rid of it. You know, and just look, remember, and I'm not going to apologise for going on about this. $3 billion to landlords, best part of $3 billion in tax cuts. There's $6 billion. They could have had these and still had $3 billion left over to give to landlords.
Despite being axed, the cost of the project continued to climb by an extra $84 million.
I think the real risk now is that the government will see a huge hundreds of millions of dollars sunk into this project.
Yikes.
And then they're going to have to start again. And actually, ultimately, we could end up on the hook for more money as a result.
The bulk of the money, more than $300 million, has been spent on preparing for new terminals, though only this temporary terminal in Picton was completed. And almost $100 million was spent on the proposed ferries, covering their design and a deposit. Wellingtonians unimpressed.
They should have let them buy the bigger boats in the first place, I think.
I do think it's quite important, especially with like all the different types of people that are on that ferry.
Sounds like they've delayed making decisions about it far too long.
KiwiRail says iRex officially ended in March, aside from a small amount of ongoing work to ensure sites are safe.
How about all the workers as well? Who basically, I mean, these aren't workers that'll be classified as the let's get rid of bureaucrats. How many New Zealanders have lost their jobs based on a government promise that this could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years worth of work? National comes in and goes, nah, you're unemployed. There's that as well, Chewy.
Yeah, it's all the downstream effects, all of that money that would have gone into the economy and all the lost productivity. Now, remember, Simeon Brown loves talking about productivity. How much lost productivity every time one of our old, rusty, broken, end-of-life ships fuck out.
Yeah, completely.
You know, just bite the bullet, buy the thing.
Yeah.
No one from the government could be interviewed today.
Oh, it's funny, eh? They wouldn't show. Wonder why.
But a spokesperson said Cabinet took into account the cost of winding down the project when it declined more funding last year. Politically, Nicola Willis is really out on a limb on this ferries issue. One of her first moves as Finance Minister was to get rid of iRex with no plan B in place. She says...
Just pause and take that on board, Whānau. Yeah. This government who's been telling us about the previous guys running around with like headless chickens, not being able to make decisions, terrible organisation, have cancelled plan A and have no plan for plan B, have no way of, haven't offered a plan B, still haven't offered a plan B. So they've gone, that deal's out. I don't know. What's next?
Maybe,
I don't know yet.
Maybe we've just got it wrong, Pat. Maybe we just don't know. Maybe Nicola should come on the show and explain it to us. Because I don't see any tactics in this at all outside of a political one.
Yeah.
There's no risk that they've worked out. There's no plan here. They didn't have an alternative lined up. They just killed a project, and they've done it by telling the media that the whole project's blown out, and then the taxpayer and the public gets fed this overall narrative that the entire project was a blowout, and it was the cost of the ferries going up, not the increased scope and resilience to be built into the port facilities to work with them. They're replacing 100-plus-year-old port facilities at the same time, and that's where the cost overruns were coming from.
So if you look at this like an Occam's razor situation, what's the most likely outcome here? If party A, and I don't mean political, I mean group, party A stops something happening, you have to ask, why did they stop it happening? or they stopped it happening because they wanted the money to stop flowing into this project, because they have no plan B. Like if Party A had to come out and stop the money flowing in and then say, but we're going to divert it here, you could say that they're spending it in a better way. All they did was stop the money. So you have to assume that Party A stopped the money for something they wanted to use the money for. And we bring you back to, my friends, landlords and tax cuts. So Party A, the national-led government, stopped the money going to iRex because they wanted tax cuts for their mates and landlords to get $3 billion. There's no other logical conclusion. There's no other logical conclusion.
There's an announcement's coming soon on new ferries, and with that, she'll need to prove to Kiwis why the government's made the right decision.
It's not going away. We still have to get vessels, and we have to get that infrastructure built.
Until a new plan is announced, it's unclear how much of the work that's been done can be repurposed and how much was wasted with the sinking of iRex. Jessica Roden.
Yeah, pretty shoddy, pretty shaky. And, you know, government, we've said this before. At the very least, we will hold this government accountable to the standard they've set for themselves, in other words, their promises, or the standard they insisted the last government should have attained. If the last government had have gone, let's look at a national party policy, national standards in the schools. If the last government had gone, we're getting rid of national standards, and there was no plan as to what was going to replace them, what do you think Luxon would have been going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about at every opportunity whilst he was in opposition? Oh, they don't know how to run a country. Look at what they're doing. They've got rid of something without a replacement. What they've got rid of is the best option. And it's exactly what they're doing now. So we're going to hold them to account to at least the standard that they did or would have held the last lot accountable to, Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely. This personally pisses me off, so I just don't want to let it go. Like, this is the party that prides itself on, you know, national infrastructure.
Yeah,
roads
of national significance.
Yeah, roads of national significance. And apparently, the road and rail link between our two main islands is not of significance. It's not important. Doesn't matter how many billions of dollars worth of goods and services cross that strait every year. We're just happy to play fast and loose.
Yeah.
Because if we have that narrative that Labor are very free and easy with the checkbook, that'll solve the problem for us. The problem is that we're not the government.
I mean, ultimately, I don't want to have the country worse off. But there's a little part of me which kind of goes, I hope, because if basically nationally government fail and fall over in this kind of area, it's worse for all of us. I don't want that innately. I want our governments to succeed, whoever they are. But also, we want to be able to go, here's the line of demarcation between these two political spheres, right? The sphere on the right typically talks about the self. What's good for me? What can I do? What can I get? I'm not saying it's universal, but typically. The sphere on the left or more than often goes, what's good for us? What's good for the community? What's good for them? You know what I'm saying? The guys on the right are like, pull me up by the bootstraps. The guys on the left are like, here's the ladder to come on up. And in this instance, it's like, you think about a better result costing more. I mean, if these guys come back with ferries similar to the size we've got now, that's already beyond population growth. How long have we had these ferries? At what population? How many tourists have we had coming to this country on that size ferries, which are now outgrown? My hope would be that someone would be mature enough. I know, I can hear you from Dunedin to go, actually, we made a mistake. We've done the numbers, and because of give themselves an out, because of the increased cost of production, those ferries were actually a pretty good deal, so we're going to go try and get them back. I know that's never going to happen, but we all know what the situation is. They're going to be paying as much for worse, or maybe they'll pay a bit less, but for much less product. It's so infuriating.
Yeah. Mike in the chat's just made an excellent point here. Just also put it in context. $40 billion for National's roading plan.
Yeah.
So we're quite happy National spend the money on roads, but
just not the quote unquote road between the North and South Island. That place that links car North Island get to car South Island. That road is like, too much. Can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's one other story that's come out as well about around the ferries. It kind of popped up yesterday, and there's a memo that's been released. New Zealand First did a bit of a shot across the bow. See what I did there? See the pun actually worked across the bow?
Okay.
About what happened and why the ferry got grounded. More news has come out today about an autopilot button accident. So this is only 60 seconds. This is from the news tonight. 3 News off YouTube. Thanks, 3 News.
So this memo obtained by the Post details what sparked the series of events that led to the grounding. As the ferry passed Mabel Island, that's just off Picton, autopilot was on. But at 9:26 p.m, the execute button was inadvertently pressed. That caused the ship to veer off course. The crew initially tried to unsuccessfully regain control. There was about a minute before steps were implemented to try and slow down the ship, but by then it was too late and the ferry ran aground in Te Toki Bay. It is understood that a key part of the investigation will be whether the bridge crew knew how to turn off the autopilot and will investigate claims that no one knew that to override the autopilot you had to hold down the button for 5 seconds. Now, we have had a response from Kiwi Rail over this. They say the safety bulletin that was issued is a standard maritime procedure. It's designed to quickly ensure crew awareness across the fleet after a serious incident, and that it does not replace an investigation. So it also says the autopilot system is not new, has been operating since 2007. It's important that we all understand all of the factors involved in the incident.
So there you go. That was, they're saying it looks like it could be human error, but they're also at the same time saying this is just the initial findings. We'll look into it more deeply as well. So, yes, the ferry ran aground. Yes, it could be human error. All those things are valid. It doesn't change the situation as to what's happening next, though. Because the other thing about the new ferries, Chewy, is that we were due to get these ones in, 2026? End of 2025, 2026?
Yeah.
And now, whatever they're going to do now, we go to the back of the line. So who knows? In fact, didn't I hear Mr. Luxon say something like end of the 2020s we could be getting the new ones by? Been put back by 3 or 4 years just because of them cancelling it. So that has a value to it as well. Like what kind of productivity loss are you going to also get in those 3 years or 2 years or whatever it's going to be that the ferries haven't changed? I wonder if they've added that into their equation as well. I suspect not.